Eyewitness News begins with breaking news.
Big news tonight in Jefferson Parish. The sheriff arrests 2 of his own deputies for shooting this man in Marrero.
Well, that man's family and civil rights attorneys raised questions about the shooting. Tonight, the sheriff says that while the deputies believed that their life was in danger, he couldn't stand behind their actions.
Yeah, Mike McDaniel was at that news conference tonight. And Mike, this is a lot of new information that you're bringing to us.
Yeah, it all came at once, and we got here pretty quickly when the sheriff called this news conference. Of course, the big takeaway from this is 2 Jefferson Parish deputies have now been arrested in the shooting death of Daniel Valley, which happened last week in Marrero. 29-year-old Isaac Hughes and 35-year-old Jonathan Lewis turned themselves in to police today and were being booked on those charges within the last hour. This all happened early last Wednesday morning when Sheriff Joe Lapinto says deputies were called to a known drug house in the 500 block of Wilson Street for a noise complaint. When they got there, deputies found 34-year-old Daniel Valley inside an SUV. Lapinto says officers tried for more than 12 minutes to get Valley to get out and comply, but he wouldn't. Lapinto says officers were even begging him at one point to get out, and then at one point, Lapinto says Valley started the engine and even raised his hands. It's when he put his hands down that Valley apparently hit the horn on the SUV. And at that point, Lapinto says the reaction was one of the deputies opening fire, followed by the second deputy, both of them firing multiple times. Surveillance video obtained by Eyewitness News shows the moment those shots were fired, busting the windows out of Valley's white SUV. Lapinto says while not armed except for with that SUV, Valley unfortunately put his deputies in a highly stressful situation, and while the use of force would have been warranted, deadly force was not.
Their perception was that their life was in danger at that point in time. Unfortunately, the use of force in this situation was not justified. As much as I would love to be able to defend them, I don't believe there was any criminal intent at this point in time.
Now, the sheriff says Valley was also wanted for questioning out of Plaquemines Parish for the theft of some four-wheelers and was also a person of interest in a drug overdose case out of Gretna. And at this point, the sheriff says toxicology did show some type of drug in Valley's system, but of course that full report has not been released. Ladies.
All right, Mike, I know that the body camera video is a question that a lot of us had. They wanted to see if that video was going to be released. Did that body camera video from deputies play a role in these arrests?
Yeah, so essentially it did. So JPSO just recently started wearing those body cameras, and the sheriff says the video seen on those cameras actually backs up the statement from these officers, because all of the officers have given statements on this, all of the responding officers out there, not just the 2 arrested, and it really backs up what they were saying. And the sheriff says that these officers have been very cooperative. Of course, now that this is a criminal investigation, the video from those cameras will not be released right away. Ladies.
All right, Mike, that's a big question.